This is a story of Atlantis and the Lost Empire, and it's called Kida and the Crystal. Kida is a princess, and she's from Atlantis. Kida and the Crystal. Here we go. I don't know if you girls have heard about Atlantis before, but there's a legend that long, long ago, a big famous city called Atlantis was somehow sunk into the ocean and covered up with water, and it sits there to this very day waiting to be rediscovered. This is a depiction of what happened when the water covered up Atlantis. But let's read the story. Long ago, a huge tidal wave headed straight for a city called Atlantis. The people of Atlantis ran for shelter, but it was hopeless. The wave was about to swallow their entire island in one giant gulp. The royal family raced for the palace. This can't be happening, the king of Atlantis told himself. Atlantis was a powerful city. How could it ever be in danger? That's the king there. Look at that water. It's covering up the city. The queen reached for her daughter. Come quickly, Kida, she cried. That's Kida right there. She's a baby. Come quickly, Kida, she cried. That's the queen. Then a bright light lit up the sky. The light was coming from a crystal floating above the city. A beam of blue light shone on the queen. It pulled her up into the crystal. Mama, little Kida cried, but the queen had disappeared into the crystal. Suddenly, more beams of blue light shot down from the crystal. It's a crystal there. They surrounded Atlantis like a protective bubble. When the tidal wave hit, it crashed against the bubble, but the city and its people were saved. But then the island of Atlantis sank deep down into the blue ocean. It became a lost city, hidden away from the rest of the world. Many years passed. Princess Kida grew into a strong young woman. She was curious, too. She wanted to find out why Atlantis sunk into the ocean. She could also see that the city was now becoming weak. But mostly, she was worried about her weakening father. One day, Kida visited her father in his throne room. Father, tell me again about the day my mother was taken away, she said. The king did not like to talk about the past. We cannot change our history, he told his daughter. Upset, Kida left the throne room. She would go hunting instead. Kida called for her warrior friends. Those are the warrior friends. Let's prepare for the hunt. She pulled her hunting mask over her head. Then the group set off. Oh, she looks pretty fierce. Look at that. She's going hunting. Kida and her friends explored a maze of caves, looking for cave beasts. But soon the hunting party came across something much more interesting. It was a group of explorers from the surface world. Kida and her warriors decided to follow them. They're from the surface world. That's the world that we inhabit. We're from the surface world. After a while, one of the explorers became separated from the others. He was hurt. That's him right there. Kida went to take a closer look. The young man wore strange clothes. His shoulder was bleeding. Kida took off her crystal necklace. So she's got crystal around her neck. She took off her crystal necklace and placed it on the wound. In a flash, the man was healed. It was magic. Then more surface people arrived. They were friends of the young man. Welcome to the city of Atlantis, Kida told them. Come, you must speak with my father. The king was not happy to see visitors. He wanted them to leave, but these people may be able to help us, the princess said. The king shook his head. He insisted that the visitors leave Atlantis the next day. I guess the king is old. He just doesn't want anything to change. He doesn't want there to be visitors from the surface world. Kida was disappointed. She wanted answers to her questions. She found one of the explorers waiting outside the throne room. He was the man she had healed. His name was Milo. I have some questions for you, Kida said, grabbing his arm, and you are not leaving this city until they are answered. Milo agreed. He was just as curious about Atlantis as the princess was. See, there's her crystal. She wears a piece of crystal around her neck. The princess led Milo to a cave. There, she told him about the great flood. My father said the gods were jealous of Atlantis, so they sank the city into the ocean. She told him about the bright light and how her mother had disappeared. You were there? Milo cried. That would make you more than 8,000 years old. Yes, Kida replied calmly. How did you find this place? So apparently people grow very old there. She's 8,000 years old. Milo showed the princess an ancient leather book, the Shepherd's Journal. It was full of information about Atlantis. Kida stared at the worn journal. Milo was surprised to learn that she could not read. See, they lost their education system when it sank under the water, so Kida can't read. Since the Great Flood, no one has been able to read, Kida explained sadly. Our history was lost. Suddenly, she had an idea. She led Milo farther into the cave. Under a thick cloth stood a fish-shaped vehicle. This is a Kitak, explained Kida. Wow, it looks like something you drive, said Milo. Yes, said Kida, but I can't make it work. Funny looking thing, look at that. You're supposed to be able to drive it. It looks funny. But she can't make it work. Milo read the instructions carved into the top of the Kitak to Kida. Following them, she placed her crystal into a slot. The vehicle started and rose into the air. With this thing, I can see the whole city in no time, Milo shouted. Then Milo placed his hand on the Kitak. Zap! It took off by itself. There it goes. Bang! The Kitak flew around in circles, bouncing against the walls. Milo and Kida jumped for cover. The Kitak stopped with a crash. So Kida showed Milo the city on foot. Okay, so they gave up on the Kitak. They're just going to walk around. They walked to an outdoor market. Are you hungry? Asked Kida. I certainly am, said Milo. Kida went to a stall in the market. She bought 2 long, gooey tentacles, each wrapped around a stick. I certainly am not hungry anymore, Milo added quickly. Kida bit off a tentacle. Tastes good, she said, offering one to Milo. Milo took a small bite. Not bad, but it could use some ketchup. Tentacles, like an octopus tentacle, maybe a squid. Just as Milo finished eating, a little girl ran up to Kida. Kida, are you coming to my birthday party? The little girl asked. Of course, Tolly, said Kida. A girl doesn't reach 1,500 every day. 1,500, this girl's 1,500 years old. They live a very long time. It takes them a long time to grow up. There she is. That's Tolly. Milo went to the party with Kida. Milo, said Kida at one point, you're using an Atlantean hairbrush to eat your cake. Oh, so he picked up a hairbrush by mistake. He doesn't know what things look like there. So instead of using a fork, he picked up a hairbrush. So she's telling him he's not doing the right thing. The cake tasted even better when Milo ate it with an Atlantean fork. See, Tally's laughing at him because he's using a hairbrush to eat his food. Milo and Kida left the party and climbed to the top of the hill overlooking the city. Milo gazed down at Atlantis. The most my team hoped to find was some crumbling buildings, he told Kida. Instead, we found a whole city full of people. But the princess just shook her head sadly. Her beautiful city was slowly falling apart. Every year it was harder to find food. Every year her people forgot more of their history. Kida brought Milo to a pool of water. I have brought you to this place to ask for your help, she told Milo. Follow me. Okay, so they're diving down into the pool of water because she wants to show him something. They dived into the water. Soon they were swimming past ruins of ancient buildings. Bright murals and Atlantean writings covered the wall. This is amazing, Milo said when they came up for air. The history of Atlantis is painted on these walls. He held up Kida's glowing crystal necklace to read the ancient writings. Kida could barely speak. Milo could tell her the whole story. At last, she would find out what happened to her city. Does the writing say anything about the light I saw? Kida asked Milo. They took deep breaths and swam back underwater. In one drawing, Milo saw a large crystal falling from the sky. Remember how the queen went up into the crystal? So this is a clue. It says in one drawing, Milo saw a large crystal falling from the sky. In another drawing, people were wearing pieces of the crystal around their necks. Milo and Kida swam up for air. The light that you saw, Milo explained, is the heart of Atlantis. It is a power source. It keeps everyone and everything in Atlantis alive. Kida remembered the last time she had seen the huge crystal. Her mother had floated up into its blue light. The crystal had taken the queen. As soon as she had disappeared, Atlantis had been saved from the tidal wave. The queen had given her life for the sake of the city. Kida hugged Milo. Kida hugged Milo. Thank you for your help, she said. Milo blushed. Oh, she's hugging him. Milo likes her. She's hugging him and Milo's blushing. The princess smiled. Not only had she found out the truth about Atlantis, but she had also made a wonderful new friend. As Milo swam back to the surface, Kida took another long look at the pictures on the wall. The pictures showed the history of her city and told the story of her family. Thank you, Mother, she thought, for all that you have done for us. Just then, the crystal around Kida's neck began to glow. Kida knew it was a message. Be brave, the crystal seemed to say. Be strong. See that? Her mother speaking to her through the crystal around her neck. And Kida was. With Milo's help, she was ready to unlock all of the secrets of Atlantis. The end. Look at that. Kida and the Crystal. That was a good book. I think there are probably more Atlantis books. I'm going to look for some more Atlantis books to read for you, but I hope you like this one. It's called Kida and the Crystal. I'll look for one to read to you next time. Bye-bye, girls.